Hello darlings, so today I am so excited because I am going to be talking about the books that I am currently reading or planning on reading this January. So this video is actually being sponsored by Simon & Schuster in celebration of one of their upcoming releases, Thunderhead, which is the sequel in the Arc of the Scythe series. I'm actually currently reading the first book, Scythe by Neal Shusterman, and oh boy, this book, I'm going to talk about it in a future video, but it is intense. So if you aren't familiar with this series, it takes place in a world that has basically overcome death. All wars, diseases, hunger, like all of this has been cured or eradicated. But in order to maintain population control, there are scythes who are trained in the art of killing. And these scythes basically are tasked with the burden of ending other people's lives. And in the first book, we meet two teens who are both selected to train to become scythes, and they're not exactly excited about the opportunity. The first book in the series, Scythe, was a Prince Honor Award recipient, and I just think it's such an interesting concept that he's exploring in this book, because conquering death is something that is such a human endeavor, right? It's something that, for better or worse, people are constantly striving for in science and in stories that we tell. And it's really interesting to see Schusterman explore what the price of that could be if it were to come to fruition. So yeah, really excited to continue reading this one, and the sequel comes out January 9th in case you have read this one already and want to pick this one up, or if you want to get both in order to marathon them. The other book that I am currently reading is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This one came out today, although by the time you're watching this, it's a couple days later, so this book is out, is all you need to know. This has been pitched to me as sort of like a Game of Thrones fairy book, and I would agree in that it's like a very political fantasy novel. However, you're only following the story from one character's viewpoint, so it's not as like huge of a world as Game of Thrones. Just like, I don't want to overhype the book. So this book follows Jude, who is a human who at the very beginning of the story, a fairy comes to his parents' house and murders both of her parents and takes her and her two sisters into the fairy world, and then she grows up in this very ruthless world and is raised to be an equal to fairies, but is not treated that way. This is definitely a very cutthroat political style fantasy, and it's my first Holly Black book in a while, and I'm really enjoying it. At first, I will admit that I wasn't in love with it, and I was kind of like, I don't understand the hype of this, but I think part of that is because my expectations just weren't what this book is. Like, I think I was kind of going into it expecting something a little bit more, I mean, to be honest, a little bit more typical for YA, and this one isn't. There's not a ton of heavy romance in it so far, at least, and I think the action itself is a little bit more slow burning. It's a little bit more political, but now that I've adjusted myself to that, I'm loving it, because those are typically things that I do love. So yeah, really enjoying this one so far. I'm a little bit under halfway through and excited to continue with it. The next book that I want to pick up is another YA fantasy, and that one is Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. Now, I have been wanting to pick this one up for so long. It is out already. This one, however, is the arc that I was given for review by Penguin. This is an East Asian fantasy novel that is an anti-hero origin story. It's a retelling of the Evil Queen fairy tale. It follows this young girl who is prophesied to become the Empress, but only if she embraces the dark magic within her. And this is supposed to be super cutthroat and ruthless and twisty, and I am just all about that. I love a good villain origin story, so really excited for that too. So yeah, I've heard such fantastic things about this one. If you've read it, let me know your thoughts. Then I'm hoping to read Howl's Moving Castle this month by Diana Wynne Jones, and I'm also hoping to watch the film and then maybe do a video about that. I don't know, let me know if you'd be interested. I haven't watched Howl's Moving Castle in years, so honestly I'm really vague on it right now, but it is based off of this book. I've heard mixed thoughts on whether the film is similar to the movie or not, but I'm just really excited to read it. It sounds super, super lovely. It's about Sophie, who is the eldest of 3 sisters, and she is cursed by a witch to turn into an old woman. And so she seeks out Wizard Howell's castle in order to try to break the enchantment. So this just sounds super lovely. It sounds like the perfect thing to read right now, to be honest. So super excited to pick this one up. Next is a book that is coming out this month, and I am so excited for it to be out into the world and so excited to finally read it. I saw this on my shelf and had this moment of I can't believe you haven't read this yet. And that is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire. This is the 3rd book in the Wayward Children series. If you are not familiar with the series, I'm sure you are by now. If you watch my channel at all, I'm sure you are by now. But the Wayward Children series is about children who have fallen into portal worlds. So think Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, etc. But not those children, other children. And each story follows a different child. And the first one was beautiful. The writing of all of them is just so lush and whimsical and just everything. And they're so short. They're just this perfect little snack of a novel. I love them so much. But yeah, this one I'm really excited for because this takes us back to the school that's in the first book. And I am just so excited to get back to the full cast of all of the children, and I just love this series so much. I don't want to talk too much to it because it is the 3rd book in the series, but if you haven't read this and if you like fairy tales or whimsy, you definitely need to pick up the series. And then next, I'm hoping to pick up Snot Girl, and this will be my first graphic novel / comic book in a really long time. This was actually a Christmas present from Kristen from over at Super Space Chick, so thank you so much, Kristen. I have been wanting to read this book for so long. Honestly, every time I look at this cover, I want to dye my hair green, which, by the way, I'm basically blonde right now. I know, I'm getting my hair done in a couple of days. But anyways, from what I understand, Snot Girl is about this girl who is an aspiring fashion blogger and influencer, but she has this secret that she just has really bad allergies, basically. And so that's why she's called Snot Girl. As you guys might know, I am having a little bit of a middle grade moment right now. And so the next book I'm hoping to pick up is The Glass Town by Catherine M. Valente. And this is her newest, I believe it's her newest release. And it is a sort of fantastical retelling of the childhood of the Bronte siblings. Now, I kind of feel like I would appreciate this even more if I had read more of the Brontes. But alas, I haven't, but I still want to read this because it sounds just super lovely. They live in the English countryside and they have all these adventures, and it's just really beautiful. Let's just look at this book. And then the last book I'm hoping to pick up this month, and we'll see if I get to it, but that is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Now, this book I picked up originally because it was pitched as sort of similar to The Secret History, which was one of my favorite books that I read last year. And this one, similar to that, also takes place in a collegiate atmosphere. This one takes place at a Shakespeare conservatory, and it follows all these different actors who take on in their personal lives and on the stage the different sort of tropes of Shakespeare. So the hero, the ingenue, the temptress, tyrant, villain, etc. And it starts off with a murder, and it follows this guy who's being released from prison for a murder that happened, and he and the detective, I guess he tells the story to the detective of what really happened. So I'm super intrigued for this one. And also, Kristen and I went for dinner and we were talking about books. We talked about this one, and she said that if you really like Shakespeare, you should pick this one up because there's lots of references to Shakespeare. So I'm also very excited for that. So yeah, those are the books that I am planning on reading this month. If you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts. If there are any in here that you are particularly interested in, let me know, and I will try to make sure that I include them in a recent reads video. I am very, very behind on recent reads videos, so definitely have to get in gear and film one of those soon. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!